Anyway, I'll call the meeting to order. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest on the agenda presented today? Deputy Mayor Bichetti.
Yes, I'd like to declare as I am an administrator with the Windsor Essex Catholic District School Board and perceived pecuniary interest.
Okay, and I do believe Councillor Houston.
Yes, I'll also declare mayor as my wife is a administrator with the Catholic School Board.
Okay. Thank you. We'll have that duly noted. And if anyone else, finds themselves in conflict, please address the chair and we'll deal with it. All right. Introduction, the purpose of the meeting. The purpose of our meeting is to hear public comment on the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment applications for the property 13810 and 13814 Tecumseh Road. And I call upon Mr. Jeffries, if you want to add to the introduction and also introduce our delegation this evening.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, and good evening, members of council. Sean, if you could please turn it to attachment 1 in our report on the agenda tonight. Yeah, thank you. So the Greater Essex County District School Board, who is represented here tonight, owns 2.3 hectare parcel of land that is outlined in red here. It's situated on the north side of Tecumseh Road, approximately 60 meters west of its intersection with Arlington Boulevard. The property consists of 3 separate parcels, 13800, 13810, and 13814 Tecumseh Road. The parcel municipally known as 13800 is roughly 1.7 hectares in area. It's vacant and it's currently designated and zoned for community facility and institutional type uses. The other 2 parcels outlined in this dashed line on the screen are designated and zoned for residential purposes and currently contain a single unit dwelling each. The designation and zoning is reflected on attachments 4 and 5. And Sean, if you could just turn to attachment 4 quickly. Thank you. You'll see the land holdings by the school board outlined in black and the zoom in the bottom. And you can see the split designation. There's the westerly portion of the property is designated community facility, while the east, those 2 residential lots are designated residential. And then in attachment 5, this split designation is reflected with a split zoning, with the westerly portion zoned institutional and the 2 residential lots zoned residential type 2 zone. And it's for this reason that the school board has applied for official plan and zoning bylaw amendment applications to bring that designation and zoning in line with the balance of the property to the west, so that the entire land holding is designated community facility and zoned institutional. And this is in order to facilitate the construction of a new 2-story elementary school on the subject property, along with a daycare facility. Sean, if we could go to attachment 2, please. This illustration shows the subject property dashed and highlighted in yellow, and the entire holdings outlined in red in the context of the surrounding land uses. There's a mix of land uses, primarily institutional, parks and rec, and residential uses. To the immediate north is the St. Andre's Elementary School, which has access to and fronts on St. Gregory's Road, to the north of which is a well-established neighborhood in a former St. Clair Beach, comprising primarily single-unit dwellings. To the east of the subject property is a tier of residential dwellings on relatively deep lots that have access to Arlington, across the road from which is the Beach Grove golf course. To the south of the subject property, between the Via Rail and Tecumseh Road, are a series of residential neighborhoods consisting again of primarily single unit dwellings that have access to Tecumseh Road, but are also linked through a multi-purpose pathway that you can see between lots on the north. And this all leads to Dorset Park, which is directly across from the subject property and aligns with the proposed access to the proposed school facility. To the west of the property is another tier of relatively deep single unit residential lots that front onto Tecumseh Road, but back onto the municipal park of Green Acres Park. And farther to the west are the Tecumseh Library and the Lesueur Secondary School. So given the nature of the surrounding land uses and the general walkability and accessibility of the subject site, it's a relatively good fit for a school. Sean, if you could go to attachment 3 now, please. So this is a preliminary site plan that was submitted along with the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment applications. And I won't go into too much detail because I believe the school board representatives will want to delve into more detail. But just as a general overview, the school is shown here, roughly centrally located. It's a 32-room school along with 4 daycare rooms. There are parking and vehicular queuing areas to the west and to the south of the school site that lead to an access on Tecumseh Road that aligns with Dorset Park. And there's a proposed signalized intersection at this location. There are recreation areas, both hard surface surrounding the school to the northwest and along the east side. And then the property that's subject of the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment applications is shown in green here. And currently they're illustrating some soccer pitches on the site. And that's where a grassed recreational space is proposed. And then finally, another important detail, and it's a bit difficult to see, but there's a new municipal sidewalk proposed along the frontage of the school site that extends to the east to Arlington. And this will help to enhance that walkability and access to the school site. Administration has reviewed the proposal and the proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendments in the context of the relevant provincial policy statement policies, the relevant County of Essex official plan policies, and the Tecumseh official plan policies, and in particular, section 10.18, which outlines the matters that council shall have regard to when considering official plan and zoning bylaw amendments. And those matters include things such as conformity to the planning principles of the plan and provincial policy statements, the need for the proposed use, the compatibility of the proposed use with the surrounding area, and finally, the ability of the town's infrastructure and transportation network or system to accommodate the proposed development. And just after a preliminary review, it appears that the proposed official plan and zoning bylaw amendment before council tonight is able to satisfy those items. The school is proposed to be developed with full municipal services. The school board has submitted a traffic impact study and a stormwater management study to support the development. And these studies are currently being reviewed by the town and its third-party consultants. But Public Works is confident that a school development can be accommodated at this location. There will be additional planning approvals if the official plan and zoning bylaw amendment are successful. The school board will need to enter into a site plan control agreement with the municipality, and that's where a lot of the details of the site will be worked out. And a further report will be brought to council at a later date. And I just want to remind council that the approval authority for the official plan amendment is the County of Essex. So just to summarize, administration believes that the proposed amendments are in keeping with the provincial policy statement, in conformity with the county official plan, and upon a preliminary review, appear to meet the criteria to be considered for official plan and zoning bylaw amendments in the new Tecumseh official plan. The public meeting tonight will provide an opportunity to hear from any interested stakeholders and will assist administration in fully evaluating the proposal. So, Mr. Mayor, that's all I have for now. I'd be happy to answer any questions that council may have.
All right, members of council, any questions to our planning manager, Mr. Jeffries, at this time? Yes, Councillor Altenhoff.
Thank you, Worship, and excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Jeffries, for kind of the introduction. I'm just trying to see, because I know a few residents have indicated to me a concern, but I'm looking at it overhead view. And I don't want to kind of compare, but we have to do this somewhat. The academic institution to the north, I noted about 23.4 thousand meters squared of land, and a similar amount on the south side where the new school is proposed. It looks like the land sizes are quite similar. Is that the case?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the land parcels are quite similar. The property that is the subject of tonight's public meeting, the entire land holdings by the school board are actually a bit larger than the property that St. Andre Elementary School is located on, if I understood the question correctly.
Okay. And we've never really received over the years any concerns about, I guess the other thing we may need to hear from the school board in terms of the population and the number of students they wish to entertain in this new institution. But I don't think over the years we've never received any concerns or complaints about with the school being crowded or not enough space. Could you confirm that?
Through Mr. Mayor, none to my knowledge, Councillor Altenhoff.
Okay. No, thank you very much. I appreciate that, because it was a point that was raised. I think the majority of our residents are welcoming something of this nature, but some concerns in terms of size. And I know the school board was hoping to get a little bit more land, but if we have something that seems to be functioning quite well to the north, that may be a good indicator of what may happen to the south. But I leave that for now. Thank you.
Okay, any further questions or comments to Mr. Jeffries? Yes, Councilor Dowie.
Thank you, Worship. Through you to Mr. Jeffrey. Thank you for the presentation. Very comprehensive. There's nothing that beats a new use better than it being the same as the old use. So this is really just the two houses that are the subject of the rezoning. But I guess my question has to do with just actually building on what Councillor Altenhoff had mentioned, the prospect of a changing school population. So in the event that there are portables that are required, would that have its own process to establish whether they could be on these lands, or is that just a default action that happens?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councillor Dowie, if that situation arises, and I'll let the school board elaborate a bit on their expectations for school population and how well this site can accommodate what they anticipate. But portables are not subject to site plan control in accordance with the Planning Act. So that's something that could occur in the future to accommodate overflow capacity without the need to go back and get a revision to the site plan.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? Mr. Jeffries, I think we'll introduce, is the delegation going to speak tonight?
Mr. Mayor, it's my understanding that the delegation is going to speak tonight, and Juliana Hinchcliffe is here, and Cindy Prince, planning consultant, is also representing this school. And it looks like Cindy might be in queue to speak to this.
All right, good evening.
Evening, thank you.
Oh, go ahead.
Cindy. Yeah, Cindy, thank you so much. I think I've got a couple of introductory remarks, Cindy, and then Mr. John Horvath's going to do a little presentation. So hopefully it'll be smooth. So good evening, everyone. And thank you for the opportunity to speak on the rezoning and official plan amendment request for the change in the two residential properties owned by the board. My name is Juliana Hinchcliffe. I'm the manager of facility services for the board, and my team is responsible for the design and construction of all new school facilities. Our mission is to ensure that new facilities are integrated into the community, provide as much walkability as possible, and incorporate a learning environment that will prepare our students for all their future endeavors. In 2016, the Board of Education was granted approval to receive funding for a 651 pupil play school to replace DM Eagle Public School on a new site. And just to answer one of the counselor's questions, the current population of DM Eagle is less than 300. So there's substantial room for growth in the existing new school that's being built. The board required the new site to be centrally located in the DM Eagle catchment area and continue to provide walkability for a majority of its students. The proximity of the chosen site to the existing DM Eagle Public School and the adjacency to Green Acres Park was key to the final selection of this site for the new school. The board is currently working on finalizing the school and site plans and has submitted for site plan control. In order to move forward quickly with the work, the board has located all school facilities on the vacant land, which is zoned institutional, located at 13800 Tecumseh Road. And just to answer another question that was asked about portables, any school built after a certain date is required to go for a site plan control amendment for any portables on site. So this school would have to go and have to apply for a site plan amendment to put portables on this site. Here with me tonight are Mr. John Horvath and Mr. Mark Beaulieu from JP Thompson Architect, who will provide a short presentation on the site development proposed. Ms. Cindy Prince is also available to answer any planning questions that you may have. And we will all be available to answer any questions at the end. I will turn it over to Mr. Horvath. Thank you.
Okay. I think you're
John?
still muted.
John, you're muted.
Okay. Yep. Standard practice for COVID, I bet. Thank you very much, John Horvath here. And we're going to be presenting a few images and a brief description of the site development to help discuss this really important project in terms of this reimagining of the neighborhood school that will be at Dorset Park. And Mr. Jeffrey did a wonderful job of covering a lot of the material that we have, so we'll try to not to repeat too much of it. But in this graphic here that you're seeing up on the screen, DM Eagle, just for reference purposes, is highlighted in blue. North is to the left, as you can see the arrows. So a little bit of a different orientation than what you saw from Mr. Jeffrey's overview. And our project site, as it was just described, is down at the bottom in green with the residential parcels that we're discussing tonight for comment highlighted in the red dashed line. If you can please proceed to the slide. Next slide, please. So just taking a little bit of a closer view than what you saw earlier in the report overview by Mr. Jeffrey. Looking at the site itself, we wanted to start just so everyone could get understanding. This is what you're seeing here highlighted in color is the institutional zoned already for school portion of it. And as was described, the intersection Dorset Park immediately to the right, which is south of the building itself with the, and we're really happy with the partnership, school board as well. That's formed between Town Tecumseh and this project to be able to facilitate a signalized intersection to really promote the safety of the students and manage the various traffic densities that we're going to see in the morning drop-off and the afternoon pickup of buses and students. So upon entering the site from Dorset Park, you'll notice there's two distinct parking tray areas or areas of circulation. And the one that runs parallel with Tecumseh Road that the cursor is moving at, this is primarily dedicated to the bus queuing for drop-off and pickup. It's also the parking area that's associated with visitors and the daycare entrance facing south towards Tecumseh Road. But as you see the parking area that's running parallel to the bottom of the screen, this is primarily dedicated circulation-wise to staff parking, the Kiss and Ride drop-off program for dropping off students in the morning, and the west entrance is the main entrance to the school proper. But what you'll also notice that's been discussed is that due to the desire to want to have as much open space on the site for the student experience with the asphalt play areas and green space that we have allotted to us, you'll notice that the building has a very compact footprint and is, again, as was mentioned, 2 stories tall. So as we now move to kind of bring in the remainder of the site on the next slide, just wanted to kind of just highlight, as was discussed, that the sites that we're discussing about the rezoning and the amendments are two current residential properties that, if you know, upon receiving the approval to proceed, will allow the owner to remove the existing structures on the site and bring this into a wonderful green space that is sorely needed by the students on any school site. And so this is a very key component to the positive student experience. And although despite the graphics that are shown on the screen right now, just from a scale perspective in terms of the field, really this is still not a fully programmed space. We are open, the school board is, we know that there needs to be some community school community involvement, potentially for the programming of this space. So we wanted that to be clear that this is right now dedicated as a green space for students with programming yet to be fully defined. So with that in mind, trying to economize the time so we can get as much discussion as we can, we just want to say that we're very excited for this project, as is the school board, and we look forward to continuing working closely with the town of Tecumseh and the stakeholders on this really important project. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, John. Is there any questions to our delegation? Councillor Altenhoff.
Thank you, Worship, and through you, thank you to the owners, kind of design consultants or architects there. Thank you very much for the presentation. I know it's been, I've attended residence sites, you know, those residence sites kind of on the west side of Arlington, which abut those two lands that we're currently in discussions on. You know, it's been some drainage, water retention issues. I'm sure with the construction that can be resolved, but I felt that, you know, let's certainly bring it up now, because we'd hate for it to come up, you know, in the last hour of construction, if that's the case. But I also wanted to ask, and I know I raised this point before, you know, I really see this area as an educational hub for the, you know, the area. And, you know, we know to the north, directly north of these lands that were being, you know, currently under consideration right now, there's a proposal for green space, but on lands to the north of that, which I recognize are associated with another school, there's a good amount of green space there as well. Is there any opportunity for, you know, school board collaboration to try to ensure that, you know, the students, whether, you know, whatever board they're from, are ultimately kind of enjoying, you know, the maximum amount of green space that they could potentially have? You know, it does benefit everyone, because at least I could see it benefiting everyone, because it takes kind of the land that you have, and if you will, artificially increases its size if we can do a bit of sharing. I'm just curious, you know, is this an opportunity that you're interested in pursuing?
Thank you for the question. It's Juliana speaking. As stated before, we are always open to any collaboration. I think the site itself just aligns with partnerships because of Green Acres Park, with the municipality, with the library, and with the coterminous board. So we are always open to those kind of partnerships. It's been a very, very busy year for school boards, so those discussions haven't happened as yet. But it's certainly something we would be interested in.
And please, I would encourage that, you know, because I see this as a potential wonderful opportunity, you know, for both, you know, both institutions. So I thank you for looking into that, because I see that, you know, certainly as a positive benefit. Just to the roadworks. Just curious, you know, it's a bit hard to see, but just confirmation, there does appear to be kind of deceleration, acceleration lanes proposed, abutting the, you know, the school, which will allow for kind of the buses and the traffic to kind of get out of the way of the Tecumseh Road. Is that correct?
I cannot answer that question. Maybe I'll let Mr. Horvath design that. We've been working with the town of Tecumseh to develop that road and upgrade the Tecumseh Road that's sitting in front of our school. And there are, through the site plan agreement process, there are going to be traffic requirements, and these are supported by the traffic study. But I could let Mr. Horvath or Mr. Jeffries, because he's a little bit more involved, speak to those.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Jeffries.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Mayor, to Councilor Altenhoff. The traffic impact study does recommend signalized intersection with westbound right turn lanes and eastbound left turn lanes.
Okay, so sorry, I just in my thick skull, didn't say that again. You said the westbound.
Westbound
Yeah.
right turn lane into the site, and
Yeah.
eastbound traffic left turn lane. That's what the traffic study recommends.
Okay,
As I
good.
mentioned, administration is looking at that and reviewing it along with its consultants, and more details on that intersection will be brought forward to council as part of the site plan control agreement.
Okay, yeah, no, if I'm understanding you correctly, I think that would ensure for the greatest traffic flow through, if you will, to make sure that, the traffic's not disrupted in the morning or the afternoon. Thank you, appreciate that.
Yeah, and I just want to add too, that I think there's you mentioned about the synergies of the two boards, but let's not discount the town with our acreage that's there. And I think Mr. Anthony, our Director of Parks and Recreation, has done a phenomenal job working with all of the school boards. As you know, we have tremendous partnerships throughout the community and developing sports fields and amenities that benefit both our organizations. I mean, at the end of the day, there's only one taxpayer. So if we can develop and co-develop opportunities, and it's good for us, good for the citizens of the community in developing those programs. And you're absolutely right in terms of the educational hub and that. I'm very, very happy that, there's nothing worse than losing a school in the community. When we lost our only English high school for many years, and then we welcomed Vista Academy to the fold, that's huge. And schools are the foundation of any community, and neighborhood schools are critical. And it's enticing for young families to first and foremost inform themselves as they're raising families. Where are the schools? Are they walkable? And so forth. When I heard the Amigo was well, we knew that its lifespan had come to an end. Myself personally, very, very excited, and I want to thank the board for actually not having to go too far in the neighborhood to certainly find a new home. And I think it's in an ideal spot where existing neighborhoods are there and all the other amenities that are attached to it as well. And it's going to bode well for the children that are going to be attending that school, and certainly support the families within that our neighborhood, and also partially Lakeshore, obviously the Amy Croft area and so forth. They'll benefit from it. So ecstatic that it's it's not leaving the community. You hate to lose schools. You always want them to come, and that defines the community. It's no doubt, and so very happy in that regards from my perspective. Any further questions or certainly comments? Councilor Tonio.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, question to Mr. Jeffries. With the traffic light there, will we still require a crossing guard to allow the children to cross safely, or will it be expected that the children will use the lights to cross the street?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'm not entirely sure about that, Councillor Tonio. Perhaps the clerk or someone more familiar with.
Question for the future anyway,
that
doesn't have to
issue.
be answered today, but just a safety concern I have. That's all. I know we have a crossing guard at Arlington, you know, if that one's going to be adjusted or how it's going to work. So just the question I have for the future is, you know, will we require a crossing guard and a traffic light or just a traffic light for safety of the movement of the children? Thank you.
Okay. No further questions or comments. Ms. Hinchcliffe or Mr. Horvath, is there any additional comments that you want to bring forward at this stage?
No, but thank you all for your assistance and partnering with the school board for bringing this project to hopefully a successful conclusion. We're very excited about it, and the cooperation we've received from the town of Tecumseh has been tremendous. So thank you again. And Mr. Horvath, if you have anything to add.
Well, Juliana, you said it well. Thank you very much. And we feel the same way.
All right, thank you. Well, thank you both, and thank you for your presentation this evening or this afternoon. If there's no further questions or comments, then members of council, if I could have a motion to receive the presentation from our delegation this afternoon, Councillor Tonio and Councillor Altenhoff. All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. And thank you very much to the delegation.
Thank you.